Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Laura Bauer. She is the CEO of PMO Boss, and she has spent 20 years leading projects and teams, and she has learned best and even some worst practices out there. So she will be talking about that. Today we'll be discussing about project management and leadership. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online format. And not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are talking about, project management and leadership, all these things. So my first question to Laura, is to understand from you. You talk about making project management simpler. How simple can one be, or project management can be in these times when there is so much of artificial intelligence and a lot of leadership in crisis? So help us understand, where does project management remain in today's time?
Yeah, I love that question because AI, there's so much happening there, and we still don't even know how it's going to evolve all of these industries, right? And there is complexities in leadership, but I think one of the great things about simplicity is helping people peel it back, right? Go back to simpler times. Project management can be, super complex, right? If you follow the Project Management Institute methodology, which is, they create the standards for project management, it's very comprehensive, which is wonderful. But many organizations are not resourced to handle that level of comprehensiveness well, right? So there are some core principles that you can break down project management into that if you can nail those, you'll be, much better off than trying to do a full implementation of every little bit of the project management methodology, which is where things get complex. And then you don't have enough team members to resource, and frustrations and issues with leadership emerge.
Absolutely, absolutely. So help us understand. You talk about, you have a boss method. So I want to understand, who is the boss here in today's time. It is going to be artificial intelligence. It is going to be some other intelligence. It is going to be the project manager or the super boss, that is the leader itself. And how in these times, with so much of technology coming in, people are saying, automate the CEO, remove the CEO, and so in these times, how do we keep project management very efficient, and at the same time, we keep it very human too?
Right. So at the end of the day, where we are today, right? Don't know where the future is going to go. AI still needs somebody in front of it, teaching it, prompting it. Prompt engineering is the big thing now with it. To get a good answer out of AI, you need to put a good input, right? Garbage in, garbage out type of methodology. So while AI has been a tremendous asset to me as a small business, it's been great to integrate it where I can. It still needs me, right? I'm still the boss of it at this point.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity to anybody to own their inner boss, right? Project managers, wherever you are in the leadership chain, you still have your area of responsibility. So whether you're on your first day of the job or you've been in it for the 10, 20 years, you're still the boss of your project, right? You're still the one that's collecting the information and aggregating it for leadership. One of the primary responsibilities I feel of a project manager is to be able to communicate up and down the chain, right? And that's a skill set that not everybody has, to be able to shift their communication style to all those different stakeholders, right? All those different people involved. So with the boss methodology, which with what you asked about, the foundation of the company is that we like to talk to, typically it's smaller businesses that don't have full project management staff in place, right? Maybe they're a company that needs it but hasn't quite gotten to implementing it. So we talk to them and we, baseline for the B, like we go in, we're going to baseline, see exactly where they're at. And then we provide back an outline of recommendations, what needs to happen. We help them set up, and then we make it sustainable. And that is really a key piece of our process is to keep it simple. If you cannot keep this process simple, it is not sustainable, and nobody's been helped at the end of that.
Right, right. So, in terms of, say, let's talk about the best practices.
Mhm.
What are the best practices, especially small businesses,
Mhm.
they can adopt in today's time? And that is where. And you also talk about some not so good practices. What are these so that they can avoid them?
Yeah, it's funny. I've learned some of my biggest lessons over the years, by mistakes, right? And I often joke, in the project management industry, there's a whole concept about lessons learned, and that you document your lessons learned and you have them available to improve. And with my old team, I would always joke, I was like, lessons learned are actually mistakes made. That's where you learn the most. Um, but I would say one of the absolute key principles across all companies, but especially small ones, is communication, right? You need to have a clear understanding of what the project stakeholder, or the one initiating, requesting the project, what it is exactly that they want, and making sure that the progress is continually being communicated, right? So if any adjustments need to be made, they can be made in a short order before things get out of control. If your communication breaks down, that's where you start to feel the chaos and the complexities emerge, right? And you need to be in an environment where you're comfortable to bring up issues, right? Because I've seen a lot of times, as far as mistakes and worst practices, people brushing things under the carpet or making them seem like less of a big deal because they don't
Right.
want to bring it up or get, I don't want to go as far as saying yelled at, but in certain environments, right, you can feel disappointment from leadership, or that you failed, or that your job may be at risk, right? So there can be a lot of fear associated with um, speaking truth to what's going on with the project, and that's not a good formula.
Right. And in terms of the worst practices that one can avoid, if there are any specific things that, especially small businesses, they
Mhm.
should keep note of.
Yeah, two of the biggest things that I see smaller businesses struggle with is prioritization, right? You've got this great, big, beautiful entrepreneurship mind, and you have all these ideas and projects you want to implement. So you keep kind of chasing the next shiny thing without really prioritizing what you want to get done. And then when you do kind of move forward on something, if the requirements aren't clear, you can't ever really define what success is going to be. So you could be chasing the same project for years sometimes, right? Because you add this element to it, or now you want to pivot and change it a bit. So if you can't prioritize, pick that, you know, leading horse, if you will, and then define what that is. That's where I see a lot of people kind of swirl around the drain.
Right, right. In today's time, when lot of technology has also come in, what
Mhm.
is the role of a leader? Many a times, a leader thinks that okay, this project is running fine, everything is moving on fine. We have put the best people on the job, we have put the best systems in place, and the leaders, many a times, there are good leaders. They may not want to just you know
Mhm.
uh, micromanage.
Right.
Where does the leader stand in terms of uh, managing a project?
Yeah, I mean, first off, that sounds like a wonderful environment, right? You've got the best staff and the best tools, so you're already off to the races. That's not always the
you
case
you
with
think
individual
that you have
leaders.
got the best team. It's not that it always turns out that way.
Yeah. But I think the leader, they set the tone, right? It again, it speaks a little bit back to a safety culture and making sure everybody has that openness that they can work freely and honestly, and communicate issues and get the leader's input if there's a pivot going on, right? If a decision needs to be made. I've seen a lot of struggles where the decision makers or the leaders kind of don't know what to do, right? They pause on what the right decision is, or they may not feel they have enough information to make the right decision. And that can really wreak some havoc and frustration on the project managers, because then they're stuck. So I think as a leader, if you're clear with your vision, or if you're not, you're having those conversations to get to the decision point to keep the things moving. would be really helpful.
Right, right. Laura, when you talk about, your boss framework
Mhm.
and you get into that system, you also talk about, that uh, culture is also very important to a team's,
Mhm.
to a particular project's success.
Yes.
How do you bring your system, your framework into that culture, and
Mhm.
what are the ways one can do it nicely? Because there can be a lot of, mismatch, a lot of friction, and within, even within the teams, they have their own
Mhm.
style of working, putting all of them together. How does that work? How do this calibration happens internally, as well as somebody from external comes into that picture?
Yeah, it's certainly not easy, right? You're dealing with lots of personalities, and people can have different feelings about those relationships. So this is not an easy thing. But I would say part of our secret sauce, if you will, is that when we are baselining, um, part of our assessment and questions we ask are around culture. We don't leave that out because I do firmly believe that in order to have a well functioning team, if you're not factoring in culture, and if people feel invested in the mission, and if things like the mission is clearly identified and people know their jobs, those kind of things can throw it off, right? It becomes, I think, a choice for the leadership of, are they just hiring people to kind of punch certain buttons during the day, or are they trying to build a culture and an environment where folks can thrive and demonstrate where their skills can be expanded.
Right. Let me ask you this way. When do you come into the picture?
Mhm.
When is it that, these people will need your services?
Yes, I'm hoping to come into the picture as early as possible, but that's not always the case. Sometimes companies will be frustrated or overwhelmed, is what we see. Projects are not getting done on time. They might be spending more than they thought. Leadership could be getting blindsided. I mean, things that aren't always fun to talk about, but it could be that kind of scenario. Or if it's a even smaller situation, because we'll help even the solopreneurs out there, right? The real kind of startup, gritty people that don't need to be doing it alone. It could just be a lack of expertise or the lack of ability to hire of a full-time project manager, especially one with experience, right? Because there's a difference with entry level versus skilled or experienced over the years. So we can come in almost in a fractional capacity. I know that's a very trendy thing right now with like fractional CEOs and stuff. Essentially, we can do the same thing with project management, where you can get a piece of us to help you expand your company's capabilities.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's look at, the project management part in a wider level. You say that, project management has taught you a lot about life. What
Hmm.
is it that other people also can learn from, project management and bring imbibe into their own lives?
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I didn't think project management mirrors almost everything in life. It's just so crazy. It's like the more clear you are with your goals and the direction you want to do, like your projects in life, and the clearer you are on what success means to you, um, you can put a plan together against those requirements, right? And then start working towards it. It mirrors in my mind a lot to goal setting, right? And the steps that go with that. Um, and even just the elements of communication we spoke about. I mean, communication, it's hard to deny that that doesn't affect every area and facet of life. But if you're better at communicating, better at managing relationships and different personalities, as you do with a project with all the different stakeholders, um it just mirrors, and it's in so many ways.
Right, right. What do you people do at the PMO, boss, and how can people get in? You people can get involved. And who is it? Uh,
Mhm.
are your best, target audience? Who is it that are best suited to get your help?
Yeah, I think the people that we serve the best are the ones that are at that growth point. Again, where they can't bring on somebody full time, or maybe they're not sure how to bring somebody on full time, and we can help them build out really what we kind of specialize in is quarterly plans. So we'll come in and look at everything where you are and give you a very solid 90-day plan. And sometimes that is the key for somebody feeling like there's too much on their plate, right? Is just giving them that roadmap. And then we collaborate with them, check in with them, work with them over time. We can either continue that and expand, over the quarters, or give them the actual framework, the training, the templates that they can then eventually hire into their own team. So what I like to do with my clients is give them choices, right? I don't ever want them to feel locked into a certain thing or process, but equip them with whatever they kind of need in that moment. And with the growing companies, that's, I think, our sweet spot. But we've definitely are able to work with companies that are struggling or looking to rehab, right? Maybe they've got something in place, but they want to overhaul it. And that's something that we can help with as well.
Absolutely. And is it only possible in person, or this can be done from anywhere in the world?
It can be done from anywhere. I mean, technology it is where it is, right? So much more is possible. We are certainly open to in-person engagements because that has its value in itself. But it's not required. This can be done through technology implementations.
Absolutely. And what is the best way for people, to learn more about this from you, and also obviously about professional engagement on this?
Yeah, the website. So you can go to thepmoboss.com. All of our information is up there. And we actually also have a free guide that kind of highlights 7 strategies for people really that don't like project management, but maybe need it in their life. So it walks you through some of the key principles to be successful with project management. And that's
Wonderful.
free on the site.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.